All right, I wanted to talk about situation number 1 and the minor, medium, and high interventions that would be necessary. The first one is a minor misbehavior of talking out of turn, or in my case, as a child, singing at the wrong time. Some students even drum their pencils or tap a pencil, especially if they're auditory learners. This is kind of a way that they think, and some people can be distracted by it. If they do it excessively, it can really get in the way of others thinking. So a simple finger on lips, or just a reminder of the rule for the entire class if it gets excessive, is usually the easiest thing to do. The less distracting that you are, because sometimes you as a teacher can be more distracting than the actual problem itself. When I was in kindergarten, we were coming in out of the rain, and my friend next to me decided to sing, "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." She sang it very softly. I, however, decided to sing it very loudly. "Raindrops keep falling on my head." And of course, we were supposed to be completely silent in line. We weren't even in the building yet. So I, of course, did not see the problem, since I had been singing solos with my family since I was 3. But I did not obey the rule, and instead of putting a finger on her lips, my kindergarten teacher directly pulled me out of the line for the first offense. And I remember her pulling me up to the front of the line and then spinning me around and walking to the back of the line and then spinning me around and walking to the front of the line, which I was extremely tiny for my age, and so it was quite a lot of headache for me. Although I don't remember that any of my friends remembered the incident, and we are still good friends today, many of my classmates. But, so I think that the irony of the situation is that I sing for a living now. If it does get quite distracting, though, you can offer a choice or redirect, or try to make, you can do this during transition time to the next center, or maybe even more quickly move to the next center if you can see that the activity is getting to be boring, or that more people have finished it already. We had a teacher who could move on quite quickly. She kept the class moving when I was younger, and she had tally marks that she would put on the side of her notebook that she kept at the podium. And if anybody did something that they were not supposed to do, that we already knew was in the class rules, she would just put a tally mark, and she did not even say anything. She might have looked our way, but she just kept the class moving. We had history bowl, history baseball. I remember choosing history as a minor because of this teacher. She had it together, what we call with itness. And but you knew that if you got a certain number of tally marks, and I never remember how many that was, but I never did it, that you would get some sort of extra assignment after class. So she kept the class moving, and often if you do that, you don't have these kinds of behavior. Persistent minor disruptions, you can be close to that table or person, and just kind of keep revisiting that area where the issue is happening. Something that becomes quite disruptive, yelling, things like that, you can separate them from that table and offer consequences if the behavior continues. Situation number 2, not following directions. If it's just a minor offense, you check to make sure everyone understood the directions in the first place. Sometimes we know what we want to communicate, but we don't realize how many students didn't hear us. They might have been checked out on the past instruction and still completing it. So we can repeat it. We can use nonverbal cues for that, redirect, and but if indeed they did understand what we wanted them to do and maybe just don't like that task, or just are having a bad day and refusing to do the work that we're asking them to do, we can let them know that this is a choice that they are making and ask them to comply or lose a privilege. We can also restate the classroom rules in that case as well. If it continues and they are blatantly disrespectful about that, then we can separate them and have an issue where we might need to have a contract about that behavior if it is indeed disrespectful. As far as the third situation that I used, it was bullying, and perhaps sometimes students, especially in elementary school, use names inappropriately. Perhaps they have heard another student use the name, or they've heard it on YouTube or TV or another social media, or maybe a parent or caregiver has used it, but they don't even know what it means. Sometimes they're just using it to be cool. So we would restate the classroom rules, maybe all together. We would read them on the whiteboard or something, and then that way the student or the victim of the bullying is not being singled out. Then if it continues, we can give them a choice and a consequence, and let them know that they will lose out on a privilege, that this is not something that we consider appropriate in the classroom. They can, we can withhold a privilege, but they can earn it back. A lot of times students who do this behavior consider that they can't ever earn it back. And so if we give them a goal sheet and maybe some sort of a thermometer that they realize, hey, I'm getting out of control here, but I can turn the temperature down in a way that I'm smelling a flower, blowing out a candle, and letting my temperature calm down, some sort of a mindfulness activity they can do, and then come back to the situation when they are calm. Intense outbursts or flipping tables, chairs, or something like that, where they are not handling it well with other children, or might be a harm to themselves or others, we could have them temporarily leave the situation or be directed to another classroom. We had to do that with students who had they were neighbors, and sometimes they were fighting neighbors, and sometimes they were happy neighbors, and so we didn't know what kind of day they were going to have when they got to school, and so we had to reiterate that this was not going to continue in the school, no matter what was happening at the house. And so sometimes we had to put them in a different class for a little while until things calmed down. I had very strict upbringing, but I had very good teachers at school, and so I don't, I reject belittling and criticizing. I find that students do better if they can be redirected And if they can be shown how to do something better, I don't do well when I feel like I'm being rushed. So there's a rhythm to classroom assignments, and if you can find that rhythm for your classroom where the students are able to complete assignments but yet not feel completely rushed, and yet the faster ones don't get bored, they are allowed to have other things to do if they get finished early. And yet the other ones don't feel overwhelmed. I think that is a good dynamic to have in the classroom. Thank you.